Woot woot.
Oh, hello. Hi. I'm Rowan. I have come over here from a couple of different places. I'm over here from Chasing Tales. We are a UK TTRPG, variety TTRPG thing. I won't say much about us because we've got another person who can cover this. I'm also over here from Witch and Craft Games. We are an international indie game development company. We write games, we stream games, we talk about games, we like games, we do a lot about games. Yeah, that's me. I'm excited to be here.
I am excited to have you here.
Thank you.
I'm so glad that, if we had to have daylight savings time, I'm glad it brought us a little bit closer to your time, so you don't have to stay up quite as late. And let's see. Next, we're gonna go over to Andrew.
Hi everyone, I'm Andrew from The First Watch, which is an actual play series playing D&D 5e. We've got a YouTube channel and a podcast. We like to hail ourselves as a cinematic actual play. We're all filmmakers, and so we kind of bring that cinematic flair to everything. We've got our second season that just started, and so episode 2 actually comes out on Tuesday in 2 days, and we would love for having people jump on and join the adventure.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming again to hang out. I know you've been here once before, so we're glad to have you back.
It was a highlight of 2020.
That could be said about a lot of things. It didn't take much. Doug, let's go to you.
Hey, I'm Doug. I'm from Good Better Quest, and we're an actual play 5e podcast. And we do one actual play 5e, and right now we're also doing a Good Better side quest called A Long Errand, and it is Offworlders, which is powered by the apocalypse. I try to play with as many other people as possible. Like, I really like going and playing with other folks. And yeah, you should come listen to our show because it's good. And you should come hang out with us on Twitter because we're funny. And I'm also a dadcore wizard, and that's it.
It's true.
It is true.
Well, Doug, I'm glad to have you back again. All right, Ray, we're gonna go to you next.
Ooh, I'm not used to not being last.
I know, but I want to make sure I have time to get the giveaway started. So I'm changing up order a little bit this time.
I got you. I'm RaeMayhem. I paint. I'm on Twitter. I put a lot of my painting on Twitter, paint minis. I've done a couple real plays. Right now, I'm mostly just playing in my home campaign. But yeah, I'm like RPG Kevin Bacon. Everybody kind of has like 6 degrees of separation of how they could like be related or know me. And I brought giveaways for tonight, so
yes,
hang around for that.
So I am going to have Meg introduce herself, and then while Meg is doing that, I'm going to open up one of the giveaways, and I will tell you all about it afterwards. Well, actually, I will let Ray tell you all about it afterwards. So, Meg, go ahead and tell everybody who you are.
Hello, I'm Meg. I am another cast member of Chasing Tales. As Rowan said, we are a UK TTRPG variety channel. We play D&D, we play Cyberpunk Red, we play lots of mini-arcs and one-page RPGs. So for the UK people, if you guys are up at midnight watching this, that's us. I also do cosplay, and I am a makeup artist, and I largely do projects focused on D&D and nerd stuff around that anyway, so yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you also for staying up late and hanging out with me tonight. So Ray, we've got the giveaway open. Tell us what you brought.
So I have 2, and I think we'll be doing one around the break and then one at the end. Okay.
Yes.
So the first thing, and I apologize if you can't see it super well. I promise they're nice, but I have this spooky little spider.
There's
is
pictures of that
one.
on Twitter, so if you can't see it now, you can look on our Twitter.
And my favorite thing is it comes with a clutch of eggs. So as a DM, you can play with both of those. And then I have this little dragon wormling that comes with a tiny little treasure hoard. How
Oh
cool
my
is
gosh!
that?
I love it.
It's
That's
teeny
awesome.
tiny treasure chests.
So we're gonna do a giveaway for the first one right after the break. So exclamation point ticket to enter. Everybody gets one entry, and we'll draw that one as soon as we come back from our break. And then if you don't win that one, you can stay tuned. We'll open up the second giveaway right after the first one ends, and we will draw that right before we close out for the night. So if you would like to win a hand-painted mini by Ray, go ahead and exclamation point ticket in chat, and go ahead and do that. So there you go. See, we've got our first entry already. Good job.
Hey.
And so let's see. I'm gonna dive in with our first question. And chat, if you're joining us for the first time, you may not know, but we take all of our questions from chat. So feel free to drop your questions right in chat. One of our moderators will make sure that we get it. We also have, for channel points, you can buy a Ask My Question Next, which will bump your question up to the next one that we ask. And that's 2,000 channel points, 1,000 channel points. I don't remember, but it's not a ton. So you probably already have that banked up if you've been around a little while. And we only have 3 of those available a night. So that way not everybody's like jumping the queue. So my first question that I like to ask everybody, and because I literally just had a conversation with people about this yesterday, is, do your dice have to match?
Ooh.
I say yes. I like to have full sets when I play, to the extent of, I remember I lost, I had a set of dice, I think a year ago, and I lost one of the D10s and didn't use it until I found that D10 again because it didn't feel right.
Yeah.
I like to have dice that match. I like to have dice that match my characters that I play if I can. It makes every little game and every little roll feel like extra right, extra special.
I agree. I also need to have dice that match.
Mine don't necessarily have to match, but they have to be thematic. Like, I absolutely need thematic dice. Like, my dice tray is laying here, and like my rainbow dice tray, and I have a set in here from a game we didn't get to play this week, but I play an illusory wizard that's a tabaxi, and she's essentially Bob Ross. Like, she uses her illusory powers to make like happy little trees, and she has a very like ASMR voice.
I love
It's
it.
a happy little spell.
Happy little spell.
It's a happy little spell, and everybody's gonna have a really nice time. Like, that's
Oh my god.
So nice.
I love it.
Well, that's my new favorite character.
Right?
her name is Bobble.
Oh my god.
God, I love her.
She's precious, and
I
I love
don't-
her now.
Mine have to match only because I get a lot of crap for this, but like I only play with one complete set at a time. Like, I will never, like, if I have to roll 7d6, I'm rolling the same d6 7 times and doing the math in my head. And I'm very like methodical and like, this is my set of dice, and I have 40 others, but only one comes out at a time.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It's just how it is.
Are you guys superstitious about your dice at all?
No.
No?
Yes.
How so?
Depends.
Depends. So, like, for me, I if somebody's been rolling badly all night and they're like, hey, can I borrow your D20 because I have to roll 2 D20s?
And you're like,
heck no! You're not going to bet any of that
Absolutely
bad
not.
juju on my D20.
Get away. Get out of here.
Persistent against bad luck. So I got a set of dice that were I was told they were blessed dice, that they were gonna just roll great, and I brought them to a game, and they rolled poorly
Oh no.
for the whole night, And then I was like, you know what? And I like the set. Like, I really like the way they look too. And I was like, you know what? I'm not a superstitious person. I'm gonna roll these guys until they start rolling right. And so I brought them to the same table for 3 different games in a row before they started rolling right. And now they're the dice I use at that table, and I'm in like several games with those people. So like I like to have a set that's for a place or for a character, and that set that's for the place is really making me happy right now. I've yet to find one for my like Go Better Quest character though. That would really please me.
Nice.
I like absolutely adore having matching dice. I'm one of those people. I was like a secret dice goblin for a hot minute. Like, I didn't consider myself a dice goblin, and suddenly my dice bag was full and I can barely close it. But I'm the same. I have like dice for characters. Like I have a character called Maple, and I have dice that have little like maple leaves in them.
Amazing.
They're so cute. I love them. But like, yeah, I have like usually 2 sets of dice out if I'm playing a game in a particular character. Because I play a lot of spellcasters, so it's a lot of dice. But yeah, like, and I have several sets of dice that I got like right at the beginning when I started playing D&D, where I've lost one of them over like the time I've had them all, and it infuriates me. I haven't used those sets since I lost those dice because I can't do it. Like, I don't mind. The one thing I don't mind is like a singular D20, because I can understand the sentiment behind that.
Yeah.
I think that's cool. But like, just having like a dice set where you have like 4 of them and the rest of them are just lost. Like, no. Absolutely not.
The question came up because I was actually doing a playtest yesterday, and me and one of the other players, we got to talking about dice because the particular game that we were playtesting uses 3d6 and that's it. And so we got to talking about the Pixels dice. Have you guys seen those? They just went live on a Kickstarter, I believe, but they are LED dice that you control the lights.
Those.
Yeah, you control the lights from your phone.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And a full set is $200, like $200
Oh
US
my
dollars. So like slightly less in euros, most likely. And it's like, oh my God. I was like, there's no way I could afford that. I'm like, I could afford the D20. And then I'm like, but I can't have just the D20 because it doesn't match anything else I have. So.
Have you seen the ones that are on a wheel? They're like, they look like cogs, and you hold it by the middle and you spin the wheel.
Oh, like the spinning
That's
top
cool.
things, or like
Yeah,
Oh, yes, I
it's
have
like-
seen those.
Like one's like a D20 and a D6 and so on and so forth. And then you just spin the wheel and it has like an arrow on the top that shows you what number is the number that you land on.
I actually have it right here. My friend gave me it's a D20 ring.
Yeah,
I've
dice
seen
spinner ring. I've
those.
So
seen
it's a-
those.
spinny ring, and it doesn't work very well, but
what
it's a
I'm
cool
talking
idea.
about looks like a hockey puck. And
Okay.
it has a bunch of cogs around the outside with numbers on it for all the possibilities that you could roll. And you hold it by the middle and you spin that like Wheel of Fortune style.
Yeah.
Like you spin the wheel and then it lands on one of them. I like the sound that it makes, but I feel like I would not be satisfied not dumping a handful of dice.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
So this was something fun that I got at PAX East in 2020, the last convention before the universe shut down. It's a D20 pin,
oh.
and it spins.
Yeah.
So there's one like tip on the D20 that I don't know if you can see it on my camera, but it's a little bit different than the others. And so whatever that's pointing to, that's what you spun. So it's kind of fun. It mostly just sits in a corkboard above my desk, but
I mean, it's still fun.
it's fun.
Yeah. I remember going to they had back a couple of years ago now the like national student role playing competition, and there I got this thing which is a rollable D4, and it's like a D4 with curved edges, like
Nice.
compared to like that one, which is like the regular like triangle D4. It's all like curved on the edges.
Yeah, I've seen those. I don't have one.
Yeah. I remember seeing there was like a Twitter thread that went round a while of a dice maker who only made like really awkward dice, like D7s,
Yes!
and D13s and things like that.
The DM that we have for our Cyberpunk game, Jack, he's one of our friends. When we first started playing D&D together, he bought a D9. And it is, I swear to God, the most disgusting thing I've ever seen.
I remember
awful.
that.
It's actually awful, because it's not even like all of the numbers are on like a point or a face. They're all in different places because it's all odd numbers and it's just the worst shape. And it's, no.
So this is
Love
a
it.
D6.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Ah,
It
I
looks
like
like a
that.
9 because it's upside down, but it's a D6. And from another one from the set, this is the D4. So, yeah, those are kind of fun. They're all slightly... the rest of them are pretty normal, like the D20, the D8, everything else. But the D6 and the D4... oh, yeah, and this one is kind of like your... This is a D3.
That makes me uncomfortable, but I can't put into words why.
Uncomfy.
It kind of just looks like a shiny rock.
I know.
It does a bit.
It does,
It's
yeah.
like when you get a pack of gummies and you pull out the one that's like really disfigured. And you're like, this one went through the machine wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But you have to love it anyway because it's a gummy, so...
It's delicious, yeah.
All right, well, we've had a couple of questions come in. So the first one I'm going to throw at you guys came from Apache 1222. Hey. And he would like to know, what is your favorite creature to have as a familiar or a companion? Ray's laughing because she likes this question.
I do a lot. So I'm going to answer it first, and I'm going to answer it twofold. One, as a DM, and two, as a player. So I DM'd a game with Wolf's Blood in it, and he had a donkey companion who, like, took on a life of its own. Thunder the Wonder Donkey.
Thunder the Wonder Donkey!
And he took on a life of its own, and I love this freaking donkey so much. I'm like, he gets to Banff. Once a day, this donkey can appear wherever he wants. Like, I loved him. And the way that Patrick played him was amazing. And it was in a Discord channel, so it was play by post. And all of Thunder's posts were all in capitals, which was like maybe the best part. So that was great. I love Thunder the Wonder Donkey, and he has to come back someday. And as a player... in the one arc in my home campaign right now, I shouldn't have had an animal companion, but I sweet talked my way into an animal companion, and it's a Great Dane sized dog with butterfly wings, and I called it a pupperfly.
Oh! That's amazing, and I love that.
His name is Chomp, and I love him.
That you've actually reminded me of something there, Ray. In my first ever D&D campaign that I played when I was probably like 16, we were a party of like 4, all new to D&D, including the DM. And the DM basically said, we're taking a bit of downtime and you can buy yourselves anything from like the mundane items list that you have the money for. The mundane items list has a donkey on it, and donkeys are really cheap. So our fighter bought himself a donkey, and I don't know how it came about, but we decided that this donkey was called Kick Nage because he looked remarkably like Nick Cage, the famous bard from 2 towns over. And we took Kick Nage everywhere. We took him into dungeons. We took him up towers. That donkey was stalwart. And we treasured him more than we treasured each other, because we were like a party of murder hobos. We were new to D&D, and we were like, I don't give a damn what happens to any of my party members, but if anyone so much as looks at Kick Nage in the wrong way,
I will die for Kick Nage.
For Kick Nage. But yeah, familiars, I guess, is something that me and Meg are kind of familiar with. We have quite a few in Chasing Tales. So much so we actually played a one-shot as our own familiars.
We did. Oh my god, we played a little familiars one-shot. It was so cute.
So my character's familiar. My character in our D&D campaign is a Circle of Spores druid, And she, at one point in the campaign, had a bit of downtime. Like, I was playing another character for about 4 weeks. And in that time, I asked my DM, hey, do you think I can, like, come back to the party with a cool familiar? I've got a really cool idea for it. And he goes, yeah, okay. What's it going to be? And I decided that over the time that she was away, she lives on, like, a tropical island. And at one point, she comes across this little frog that's been attacked by birds and, like, is dying and or dead. And she goes, no, I'm not going to let this frog die. I really care about this frog. I'm going to heal it. And she heals this frog, kind of, and it comes back as an undead frog with a mushroom growing out of its back, like Bulbasaur. And her name is Lily, and she is the bane of our party's ranger, because whenever the ranger tries to use, like, primeval awareness or anything like that, the DM's like, yes, you get a sense of undead, and he just goes, undead. It's the frog, isn't it? It's the frog, yes. It's my little zombie frog, and I love her very much.
We have a ranger and a paladin, so that happens a lot. I actually started that D&D campaign with a mount as opposed to a familiar, but, like, he's my best friend. His name is Willow. He's a jackalope. So I played a gnome, so he was my mount, and yeah, like, we got to the point where, like, we have my rogue character who's she's a scout rogue, so she's very, like, basically a ranger, but just a rogue. And then we have, like, a ranger and a druid, so we all ended up being very protective of this mount, so much that we call ourselves the Willow Protection Squad, because if Willow ever goes down in a fight, he is the first one to get healed, no matter what. And we love him very much.
He goes down and half the table are just like, no! Gotta go!
So
I didn't
dramatic.
even think about that. If something happens to Chomp, I will cry at the table.
Exactly,
like,
right?
I won't be okay.
Something will happen to Jump.
And then our friend Prue, so one of the first things we ever did in this campaign is
Before I joined as well.
Yeah, this was, like, the first thing we did when we got together as a party was this woman was like, oh, my nephew, like, my brother's son has gone missing, like, he's a kid, like, we don't know where he's gone. Can you guys, like, go out into the woods and find him? Like, we don't want to, we're just, like, commoners, but can you guys go and, like, see if you can find him or whatever? There ended up being a forest fire while we were trying to find this kid. Unfortunately, we did not find him before he breathed in too much smoke. But we did find a baby fox who, for some reason, could talk. Now, in this homebrew world that Andrew built, souls are kind of fucky. So what we ended up finding out is this little boy, his soul hadn't gone to the Silver Sea, to the gods, to peace. It had been absorbed into this baby fox. And this baby fox, also, we eventually discovered, had wild magic. Like a wild magic sorcerer. So, at one point, he got very scared, and we came back to where we'd left him, and he'd summoned a unicorn by accident. And, yeah, like, Hope, Prue's character, was also a wild magic sorcerer, so they had a cute little, like, bond with this, like, baby fox. And we ended up calling him Nitwit, and he is actually, like, the symbol for our stream. Like, our stream logo is a little fox, like, curled around a D20, and Nitwit is just, like... Nitwit is just our boy. We love him. Our channel points are called Nitbits.
Oh
like,
my gosh, that's awesome.
Role in our Discord. The role in our Discord for the fans of our show, where they are the Nitwits.
The Nitwits, yeah.
That's so cute.
So we have a lot of familiars, and we're very protective of them.
We really are.
we love them.
I love that. I don't typically play characters that have familiars or companions. Mostly because, right now I play a lot of Pathfinder, and there's so many crunchy rules to remember in Pathfinder 1st edition that if I try to remember to have to do a companion animal as well, all bets are off. Like, I literally have Post-it notes stuck to the bottom of my monitor, like, with notes about things I have to remember about my character. I still have one from a previous campaign that I streamed on another channel that says sneak attack on flank, because I never remembered to take my sneak attack damage, so... yeah. But Evie, my Wednesday night character, can turn into a bear, so there's that.
That's fun.
Yes, Shapeshifter is a
basically
ranger
a
archetype
familiar.
in Pathfinder 1st Edition, so so she can shapeshift into a bear once per day.
So a character with some earth sign tendencies. Durak is a barbarian who has this season become an accidental druid, and he turns to a bear sometimes.
Accidental druid is the best type of druid.
Indeed.
Accidental Druid is the name of my indie rock band.
Right?
Yeah, very much.
It
So.
would be, yeah. That tracks.
So you're saying
So-
that he's a barbarian?
Barbarian.
Oof.
Oh, Luna.
Come on!
Normally make me feel so good. You
Can we
normally make me
kick
feel
Luna
so
from
good
her own
about
stream?
Get out of here.
So all of my familiars, companions, steeds across different games are called Fleece, Fleece. I don't know why. I just decided that was kind of like a fun name. So it's kind of like my own like little mini multiverse across everything I'm part of. But my favorite one that I've used has been a spider. And I was playing a warlock detective, and so having a spider familiar packed to the chain, the whole deal. I could get information from anywhere, and they crawl around and up into corners and stuff like that. So I don't know. It's probably more of a mechanical preference than like, oh, I'm like enjoying having bonding time with my little spider, but. But it is fun, and of course, the DM did a good job in that game of making sure that there was a character who was deathly afraid of spiders, and I was like, awesome, excellent, perfect. This is exactly what I wanted.
All of my characters are deathly afraid of spiders because it's not hard for me to act out because I am deathly afraid of spiders.
Right.
Yeah.
Every
I think
character
Rowan has the opposite problem.
I'm playing a spores druid who is all like, I bond with the rejected parts of nature while being a massive arachnophobe is a little bit hard. Because like Hemlock is there, it's like, oh yeah, it's a beautiful spider, it's crawling up the wall, and Rowan's just like, no, Andrew, stop making the Minecraft spider noises, please.
I end up like trying to have a pet in every campaign that I play because that's just like who I am as a person. And I was thinking about it, in the one campaign that I didn't, I kind of adopted one of the players because he was playing a Yordle, which if you're not familiar with like Riot Games, think the size of a gnome, but like Ewok cuteness, like tiny and fuzzy and cute. And he was a pirate Yordle, and my character like treated him like a baby, and she loved him, and like he was her familiar, and I was like, you're a playable character, but you're also like baby. Like,
I will carry you if I have to.
oh, I
You are
did.
my
I made a baby Bjorn. It was great. He would get drunk, and I would carry him in the pouch.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Oh, that's fantastic. All right, let's see. I have another question from Zeal Zaddy. And the question is, do you like serious soap opera storylines in your D&D? For example, PC had a baby with another PC's brother. A PC's father is sleeping with the evil incubus that is trying to take over the town.
I'm gonna throw Doug under the bus here to tell a story because he created. We're in this world that we play in. The DM does a really good job of making all these different parts feel like different things. And the one campaign that Doug and I play in is based on like Coachella. So it's supposed to be this like crazy music festival. But you need to tell them about Thorin because he showed up in this like, this is where Bobble is, like happy little Bobble. And then Doug showed up with this story, and I was like, and it's so good. And every time like a piece of it comes up, it's just so good. So I'm putting you on the spot. Sorry, Boo.
Now, all right. So I think that it is. First, I think it's important that you're like everybody at your table, like, at least is on the same page about this, right? Like, everybody at the table needs to be in terms of, you know, how far is this going to go in what direction or whatever, right? But I think that having those sorts of backgrounds and those sorts of like flavor things in a story are really, really solid. And I think that I'm trying to so like we invest our characters with these really deep backstories, right? And we give them all these motivations. And one of the things that this one DM that I really like, we have this sort of running joke that we're all just serious people in clown suits. And that's kind of how our best characters are. They're like, from the outside they're really goofy, on the inside they're really earnest. And so I think having those soap opera type storylines and having those sort of sorted backgrounds for characters just adds weight to them, you know, just adds gravity, right?
I was actually having a conversation with a friend about this the other day, because I was talking about how in our home game, which I DM, I was feeling like I'm having a hard time giving the players enough reason to like really latch on. Like, they're going up against a dragon right now, and there was a legit, and this was funny, but there was like a legit 20-minute conversation of, do we need to fight this dragon? Like, we could just skip town. Like, we're literally, the only reason is it's the right thing to do, which is fine. But I realized, kind of backtracking for myself, I didn't give them enough personal hooks and stakes throughout the game to like get their teeth sunk into a real reason to do this. And I think it's obviously I think that, maybe you could take it so far that, some people feel like, oh, this is just a soap opera and it doesn't have the high adventure I want. But there are those elements of like personal stakes. And I think I tried to stay away from that for a while because I didn't want it to be a soap opera. And I was like, well, of course that person who shows up is your old, boyfriend from whatever. Like, how convenient is that? But like, also that's the fun of it. It's like, you are these are the stars of this story. These are the main characters of this world that you're playing in. They get to have those fun, dramatic moments. They're not NPCs.
Yeah, I think sometimes you can get handed a player backstory as a GM that just has so many like nice little hooks in it that you can just make a story really personal. So I, before the pandemic happened, I was a GM of a Monster of the Week game with a bunch of my friends, and one of them said, so my character it's set in Paris, and he said my character's from America but had to leave America, but has left behind like an ex. So of course I bring the ex to Paris. Of course you bring the ex to Paris. It's right there.
You have a choice.
It's right there.
Like, you've handed me this wonderful piece of juicy little trauma. You think I'm just going to leave it? No. And as far as players go, in our current D&D Ravnica, Witch and Craft Ravnica game, my character's currently in the middle of a love triangle with two other PCs. And that's very fun, because I've never played a character like that before. But suddenly you've got I've got my character's ex-girlfriend and my character's current kind of fling. Like, just, there's a bit of I get doted on so much, it's lovely. I love it. I've got so much attention.
10 out of 10, that sounds great. Like, sign me up for that IRL, right?
I think the most like soap opera thing I've ever run as a GM is I was running Curse of Strahd, and I had a player who had previously, because it was like the second time I ran the campaign, because the first time I tried running it, I fucked up and TPK'd everyone.
Whoops.
So,
Whoops.
I kind of
so
love that though. Snaps. I kind of.
But it meant that there was a player who had made a character for the game who got TPK'd in his first session, and I felt so bad. I was like, "You be in this next campaign. Like, it's fine. I'm so sorry." But what made it really cool is she made it so her next character was the wife of her character that had originally died. Coming to Barovia to like search for her lost husband. Essentially.
Kind of love that.
And
That's genius.
Yeah, it was very cool. So what it meant for the campaign was all the stuff that they had done in the first campaign had already happened in this second campaign. So for them, they didn't get Irina. She had already been handed over. Whoops. But it meant that I got to play with that, and I brought her husband back as a revenant, because revenants are kind of a thing in Barovia. And it ended up being that they went to the Amber Temple. She picked up the Staff of Frost, which makes you crave power above everything else. So immediately went upon herself to touch all of the sarcophagi in the Amber Temple, which kind of turned her into a bit of a cryptid for a while. But also, one of the sarcophagi is you can bring someone back to life. And I made it so that, like, because her husband being a revenant, his whole thing was he died in the doorway of the Amber Temples. So he never got to go in and, like, complete that area. So his whole thing was he was going to be there, wait for his wife or the next adventurers to come along, guide them through the Amber Temple, be there to fight with them. And then that would be his, like, thing finished, you know, and he could, like, settle. But because she had this ability from one of the sarcophagi, when he started fading as he left the temple, she used that ability and actually brought him back to life as a human person. And it was just, like, so nice because she got that moment of, like, completing what she came to Barovia to do, to, like, find her husband and bring him back. And it was just, like, so sweet and lovely.
And it's such a great idea for, like, multiple games with the same players to if they're open to it, to, like, continue the world. And I think about season 2 of, Critical Role being set in the same world, but 20 years later, and the way they can tie things in, and just how much higher the stakes were for yes, the character, but that player going into that second campaign of, like, okay, and these things matter. And that's such a hard thing to, because there is it is very easy to just become murder hobos and have fun doing that, but, like, to really feel like this matters. Well done. That's awesome you were able to give them that.
I know, it was so exciting. And she made it so, like, they had kids and stuff that they had to go back to. So, like, the motivation to survive Barovia and get out and go back home was, absolutely up there. It was so nice. Even if Gary was just a bit of a shithead pirate and kind of deserved to die. Because he, bless him, like, he died in the Amber Temple because he stood in the doorway and just allowed himself to get killed. But, it's fine. We don't talk about it.
I think... Oh, go ahead, Doug.
No. All right. One of the sort of soap opera things that happens in our show is all right. So I DM David. You can find him as at stag_horn. I think he's my boy. Y'all should check him out. He's a good DM. But he has one of the things that he's done. We're on season 3 of our show, and in season 1 he introduces this NPC who is this, like, super cool, super slick, powerful person. And he brings her in for just a moment and, like, saves the day with her once or twice. And then in season 2, she's in there a bunch. And one of our characters, like, falls for her hard. And but before that, like, David has it set up so that, like, that character has relationships, not like not like amorous relationships, but relationships with like everybody in our party. That like he's had like one-on-one conversations with us with this person, including this one who is very much in love with Moth. Moth is the character's name. And now in season 3, we've just discovered that Moth is like one of the most wanted people in the kingdom. And and she has this horrible backstory. And now though, my character has a loyalty to her as a fellow fighter. Just they survived some shit together, some stuff together that he's, like on her side now, period. And then we had this other character in our party who is in love with her and isn't going to like betray her. And so now our character's in this very real conflict where are we going to be loyal to this person that saved our lives and who we have these relationships with, or are we going to be loyal to the school that we work for that's paying us to go capture her? And that's going to be really the root of season 3, the heart of the conflict in season 3 is that, and it could be soap opera-y, but it's not played that way.
Mm-hmm. When you can have a GM that can set up moments like that, like those truly hard, like knife twist choices, it feels so bad but so good at the same time. It's one of my favorite parts, I think, of playing TTRPGs, is just being in those moments as a player, and if I've ever managed to make it happen with my own players as a GM.
And not even like the moments where it's like a hard like yes or no or like a moral questioning. Dev, our DM, he is magnificent. Like, I will die for this man. Like, he is just so good. And he does this thing so well that you don't even realize it's happening until after it happens, where you'll get a little piece of character exposition from someone's background, and like sometimes it is heartbreaking and sometimes it is just like confusing, but it's done so well and so tight and so small that it creates a moment of tension without actually creating a moment of tension. Does that make any sense? Because like your character doesn't perceive it, you as the player perceives it, and like, you know, you fall a little bit in love with the DM and you're like, okay, fine, I'll deal with that later. But it's also, it's like, you don't get feels for a good storyteller, you don't really have feelings, and I will fight you on that. But I think
I'm dating my DMs, so.
Well, there you go.
Rest my case. So...
It's funny because my wife does not watch streams, so she will not know this information, so I can share it here. But when we think about those like long thread things, like she gave 2.5 years ago when we started our home game, she gave me a backstory for her bard in which she lost a child, not like dead, but like a child was taken from her very early on because of like magical powers or something. What she doesn't know is that dragon I mentioned that they're all fighting, the general of that army is her adult son, who has been raised by others, and they're about to find out that.
Yeah. I have a very, very similar thing where the Monster of the Week game that I run that is currently suspended, one of my players is my girlfriend and started playing in that campaign before she was my girlfriend. And
I'm
as
just
she
saying.
I know, right? This happens.
Science.
And she comes in and she says, I'm playing this character that's very, cynical and very nihilistic. She's in Monster of the Week, she's playing the spooky playbook, and their whole deal is like the sort of the like possessed person archetype, the prophet, the seer kind of thing. And she said her character has had a vision of her own death, and that's why she's so cynical, because it's like, I'm gonna die at some point, so I might as well just go out and do all these things. And the way that it managed to fall in the planning of the campaign was that the one way that she can prevent her own character from dying is siding with the bad guy that they're currently halfway through killing. And like, it's this big long event that they have to do to kill this bad guy, and she's not going to be able to find out that it's this bad guy who can stop her from dying until very near the end. And
Ooh.
because we've been this campaign has been suspended for so long, it's going to be so long until she can find that out. And it's just eating away in me of like, I set that up before we were dating. We were just sort of friends. She was new to TTRPGs. What is she going to think of me when I like, hey, babe, we've been together for like 2.5 years. Here you go. Like, how's she going to look at me for that?
Yeah, by the way.
Yeah.
In our,
Just don't do it like on a birthday or anniversary.
Oh no!
Oh my god. Okay, I'm about to.
You're about to win this one. I know where you're going with this.
So me and my partner Andrew, who is our DM, we used to live. I don't know if you heard that, but we used to live together, and we recently just stopped doing that because we both got different jobs in different places, you know, all of that jazz. But because it's pandemic, we haven't been able to do an awful lot of visiting each other. So I came to visit him at the end of November last year, and I was here for 2 days total. One of those days happened to be the evening that we played D&D. You know what? You want to know what happened on that one evening? He killed my character.
Oh.
I can hear him. I can hear him in the background.
Andrew's protesting, but he's not allowed because he's not on this stream.
Yeah,
But
So
From
yeah,
one
if
Andrew
you'd like
to
to
another,
protest,
no.
you have to book your time.
and then I had to like get on the train and go home the next day. Like, bye, love you, I guess. Like,
we played on my wife's birthday, and she was like, "You're not gonna," and I was like, "You're immune. It's fine. This is the one day that you're immune. You can do whatever you want."
but hopefully in the next game she is coming back. So
Meg,
we spent.
We just need to plan it and like line up where every time we have like a big battle, it's on like one of our birthdays, or on like, you know, something where it's like if he kills one of our characters, it's mean. We need to work out the timing.
We
So,
do.
I
To be
thought
fair,
I
we've
had-
survived a surprising amount the past couple weeks. So.
I am with you too. I am looking toward you on my screen. I am with you. I think if you make a cute enough face that your DM should let you slide with shit, and I get I'm infuriated when I'm told no. And like there was a game where I got a text message on the side that was like, "Did you just stomp your feet?" And I was like, "Maybe." We don't like the no word. That's not our favorite word.
Isn't that what improv is all about though? The yes and.
Yes, and
Exactly.
Right?
Oh my goodness. So going back to the question about, you know, like the drama and stuff in a TTRPG, and how that can drive your characters. So I played a game on a stream, Staghorns and chat going, improv's all about nah. I played a character in a streamed game who had basically had fallen in love with one of the NPCs, who eventually became somewhat central to part of our story. And so she basically, there was a big battle in the town that they were in. He, being a ship captain, was like trying to load people onto his boat and evacuate them from the town because the town was being just invaded by all of these goblins. And so he was just like, get out, get on my boat, let's go. And we were hoping that he would have been able to do this before the attack happened. Like, our plan was we knew the attack was coming, we wanted to get people out ahead of time. Anyway, didn't happen that way. And so as he's loading people onto the boat, his ship gets blown up and can't find him anywhere. Like, we can't find him in the water, we can't find him on land, nobody's seen him. So my character, like, that whole thing literally changed how her character leveling progressed. She was a rogue, and she was gonna go straight rogue, and then when that happened, she actually took a level of fighter. And then you know, through who she was hanging out with, you know, while they were still in the town, she then took a level of ranger, so she was a rogue fighter ranger, and lo and behold, they did end up finding the guy, and he ended up, they found him, they brought him back to town. He was obviously like horrific PTSD and all of that stuff because he had been kidnapped and blah blah blah, all this terrible stuff had happened. Well, then we figured out when he got back to town why he was so different was because he had actually been possessed, and like the demon came out like in the town, and I was like, that's it, I was not having any of that.
Those late reveals and the things that really make your table just like, well, when we all could be around the table, like jump out of their seats. That's the best.
Yeah.
Some good moments. Good moments.
Yeah.
I was thinking about.
I mean,
we
also...
had.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm not going to go into the whole story because it was an 8-hour-long session. But we had one session before the pandemic. It was like one of the last sessions we played before lockdown, where we like discovered mind flayers for the first time in the game, and we were level 5, and it was terrifying. And yeah, we played for about 8 hours, and there was a lot of like clutching each other and crying. We what I miss.
Yeah, we leveled up twice in that session. In one session, we went from level 5 to level 7.
Damn,
because just so much happened. Yeah.
Trauma.
So
what's the longest session you've ever played?
8-9 hours. I think it was like that. It would have been that one. Yeah.
5 maybe.
Yeah, maybe like 4 for sure, but maybe 5.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Streaming.
I don't think I could do that again, though.
Streaming,
it was very tiring.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, not to downplay the other half of that question of like the fun flippant part, because like some of that stuff is really fun too, and like our DM dropped this thing on us in the last game that we played, and we're in like a desert scape that's kind of, it feels like very Stranger Things, like a Dune-esque, but like the sun set and hasn't risen there in 3 days, so it's like a pocket of darkness. And he brought us this drow character riding a spider, and he called him a drow boy, and I'm dead. His name is Silas the Drow Boy, and I'm just like,
I would die for him. I would die like by the name alone.
Allison plays with us. She's in the stream, and like spoiler alert, my character kind of likes her character, but like now Silas is a competitor too. Like just the fact that it's Silas the Drow Boy, I'm just like, whoa, it's so good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like shit like that tickles me. Like if you can come up with like little funny pithy things like that, like I'm here for it.
Yeah,
I love
that. Like when a GM can like break out an NPC with a stupid name or a stupid voice or something like that. Like the moments in like Critical Role where Matt Mercer will just break out the worst voice and the entire table loses it. Like that gets me. That gets me in my heart, and I love it so much because it's just those moments.
What's your most pun-tastic NPC you've ever run?
Oh.
Because I just gave my party Greta the Grung Gunslinger, which makes her a Grungslinger, and I'm very proud of that.
That's very good. That's very good.
Two NPC names. They're not mine. They're my friend David, my dear DM David Staghorn. We have a orc bard named Frontback. And,
oh my god.
It's like FRUHNTBAHK or something like that.
Oh.
Frontback, and then Professor Nedrag Ivilo, which is Olive Garden backwards.
Yes.
Oh my god.
I heard about that. God. I heard about that a few weeks ago when he was on.
That one wins.
Yes, yeah, you guys will have to go back and check out the episode. It's on YouTube now when David was on just a couple weeks ago, because he literally put the question out to everybody on the stream and chat to help him come up with stuff. It was incredible, the things that people were coming up with, so do recommend.
Yeah. It came up in a campaign I was planning but never got to run, which I wanted to make like like goofy camp evil one shot of like not an evil one shot, but you play little you played like the grunt force of the evil regime, and the Dark Overlord's name was literally Dark Overlord in Latin. His name translated was Dark Overlord, Dark Overlord. And I'm upset that I've never got to run that campaign, and one day I will do it, just because it was so campy, and all of the characters' names were like their titles just translated into Latin. So like Dark Overlord or like Evil Horsemaster or something like that, just translated into Latin. And it's fun. It was just fun and stupid.
I played in a campaign once that there was a Kenku NPC, and the DM had a soundboard, and the name of the Kenku was the sexy saxophone part from the beginning of
Careless Whisper?
Yes, Careless Whisper. Thank you. That was his name. That was his name.
So did you then have to, every time you wanted to be like, hey,
we would try to call him Careless Whisper, and the DM's like, he doesn't respond to that, and I'm like,
You have to sing it every time.
I want to make a Kenku whose name is the opening to the Wii Shop channel music.
Oh.
Dun, 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 dun.
That's evil. That's chaotic evil right there.
I had a character that people who have watched me on this stream before have probably heard this already, but I had a character who had a theme song once, well, a couple of times, but this particular one was a dragon rider, and so every time she would get on her dragon, because she loved being a dragon rider so much, the music from Neverending Story would come on, and she'd be like, yeah! So...
Oh my god, if we're talking about pun names, there is someone that I have to mention. Our good friend that we love, I think he's in the chat, our friend Jordan, who's in the chat as the True Stav, who has a command of puns that I genuinely don't think any person should or could have.
I love them already.
The two that come to mind is we played in a one-shot that Meg ran, that was like a pre-gen horror one-shot where Jordan played a grung. Jordan really likes grungs. And he played a grung who didn't talk, completely silent throughout, whose name was Axel Finch. And towards the end of the campaign, toward the end of the one-shot, he was like, he looks over to you and just says the word crazy, hops on a motorbike and leaves, because his grung was Axel F, aka the person who wrote Crazy Frog.
Oh my gosh.
And the other one, that hurt me. That I think genuinely hurt me.
It was the fact that like I had just run a whole game about like a fucking evil priest and like
and then the other one that he's currently doing is in our Cyberpunk Red game, where I don't know Cyberpunk Red very well, but as far as I'm aware, there's like his character is an impersonator, and there's like a type of thing where you can be like somebody else or something. His character is a Robin Hood impersonator called Bobbert Hoot. And his whole thing is he has given himself plastic surgery to look like a bad cartoon version of Robin Hood.
Oh no.
Priceless.
Yeah.
And he's like really good at archery mechanically in the game.
Yeah.
Like he's gone full
So, but I know we have to break soon, but
We do.
my whole thing is I come up with stupid ideas for characters. And like I want to play a game where I'm a sentient hat piloting a mannequin. Like just stupid shit.
Well,
So
go ahead.
I was gonna say, the one that I bring up almost every time I'm here is I played in a game where I was a dwarf named Spicy McHaggis, and it was after there's a band called the Dropkick Murphys, and their bagpipe player's name is Spicy McHaggis, and there's a song called the Spicy McHaggis Jig, and it's all about how he hunts the country for women over 400 pounds, and that's what it was, a bard who played the bagpipes who loved like Goliath women. That was the whole character.
Yeah.
And yet that is a complex, rich character full of potential. Just born from a meme.
Just
Totally.
born from shenanigans and fuckery. That's it right there.
I have also I've just remembered one last one that
Okay.
I will do very briefly, which is a character that I played in a Monster of the Week game that unfortunately fell through, who was the Chosen One. And her whole thing, it's set in a place that's very local to myself. It's set in the Moorlands, quite close to where I live in the UK. And her whole thing is she is the chosen one of nature. She works for the nature reserves and against this kind of evil magical corporation that we've sort of been hired for. Her name is Laura Axford. She speaks for the trees.
Oh my god, I love it. I love that so much.
I think I've killed Ray.
And this is probably a good time to take a break so Ray can now collect herself and not die. So we will be back in a few minutes. If you haven't entered the giveaway, make sure you do ! Ticket. We will draw the first winner right after the break, and then we will open the giveaway for the second. And so we'll see you in just a few minutes.
No, well, I don't know if
I am to them.
Luna.
Yup, I did it again. God dang it. Hey, so we're back. Yay. And we need to draw a giveaway winner. So Ray has the first giveaway right there. It's a little mini dragon wormling. Excuse me. And a treasure hoard. So make sure it's so sweet. Exclamation point ticket. Get your last minute entries in. I'm gonna close the giveaway in just a second. I'll let it go for just a minute. All right. Drum roll, please. Giveaway is now closed. Winner is Jeggy Cesara. Jeggy, are you still in chat? Gotta speak up to win. Otherwise, I'll pick another winner.
Hitting Juggy with it.
Yay! There he is. All right. So, Jeggy Cesara, I will connect with you. Or if you want to message one of our moderators, we will get that giveaway to you. And now we are going to open another giveaway. Believe it or not. For yet another hand-painted mini from Ray, because Ray's awesome. So there we go. Exclamation point ticket if you would like to win an awesome little spider, and we will draw the winner of that one at the end of the stream. And that one comes with like a little
clutch of eggs. I've been calling it a happy little nightmare.
Yeah, sounds about right. Thanks. Excellent. All right. So let's dive back in. Congratulations, Jeggy Cesara. And we are going to dive back into our questions. We got a couple that came in just before the break. So one came in from Vertrox Nightblood. What is the coolest homebrew item that you have either created or received in D&D? And then Staghorn piggybacked off that and said, what's the coolest homebrew item you've seen in your game?
As far as ones that I've created, one that I'm quite proud of but I've never got to use is a little item called the Pocket Crowd, which is a little like figurine statue of a crowd that you can use an action to throw it, and then it'll explode into an illusory crowd of people that will mimic the actions of people around it. So if you throw it into like a celebration, people will start celebrating. If you throw it into a crowd, like a mourning party, they'll all stop mourning. And then there's a thing where if you throw it where the emotions are mixed, it'll all just act with mild bemusement. And I've never gotten to use it yet. But I really like the idea of like a rogue, and they've got nowhere to hide, so they just make a crowd of people to hide in. And then awesome. Ones that I've seen, I don't know who made it. I found it on Pinterest uncredited, unfortunately, but it's one of my favorite things, which is called the Decanter of Infinite Bees. Where yeah, and it's a jar that when you break it, it's like 3d20 swarms of bees come out.
I love that.
And that's it. They don't respond to you. They're not friendly or aggravated. It's just a lot of bees. And again, our friend Jordan used it in a one-shot once. Where it's just this jar. It was a jar we found on a shelf that was just labeled "Do not break," and it was the jar of bees.
I want to give a special mention to the item that I made for my character for that one shot, because I made a drunk monk, as I like to call them, and she had a decanter of endless whiskey, which was basically just a little like flask, but instead of water, it was.
I know of a cool one, actually. I know of two cool ones, and you made me think of that. Meg is in the Lawful Grand Adventures podcast. The one that I was thinking of originally was, they call it the Thieves' Candle, and it's a candle that when an unlit match passes over the top of it, it creates darkness for like a 10-foot radius.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Which I thought was really awesome. And then the other one that they have also in the same podcast is it's a mug that one character has, and his goal is to be the toughest guy in whatever town they're in or city they're in. So if he gets dubbed the toughest guy in that city, they etch the name on the mug, and then hit the mug every time he wants a drink. He can pull out the mug, put water in it, and then decide which city he wants it to be from, and it'll change into the drink of whatever that city is. So, like, one town, they had, like, juniper juice, which, was gin. And, so he'd be like, I want juniper juice, or, whatever, and it would turn into gin. And, yeah, it was, I thought that was really cool.
A lot of drinking-based magic items, which I approve of.
So they were talking in the break I was listening about playing barbarians. And my best homebrew item was for a barbarian, which were the gauntlets of overqualified confidence. And it was for whenever, because a barbarian always like believes that they are more charismatic than they are, or smarter than they are. So whenever you had to make a check that was not an area that you had proficiency in, you got to roll with advantage. If you rolled with advantage and you got a D20, until your next long rest, you were able to claim proficiency on it, and you could only activate them twice a day. But to regain the charges, you had to punch someone in the face, specifically the face, in combat. And if you didn't specify that, it didn't count. But that's how you got your charges back. And it was so fun. Like, it was just so fun. Because you gave someone who wanted to beat things this thing like, hey, you're going to back yourself into a corner. And I know you're going to back yourself into a corner. So here's this thing that'll get you back out of it. And in order to fix it, you can either wait till a long rest or you can punch bad guys in the face. And in that campaign, there were 2 characters that didn't get along, so sometimes the gnome got punched in the face, which was funny as well.
It's for the good of the group, though.
Yeah, right? Like, it was necessary.
Sometimes you gotta punch a gnome, you know?
Yeah.
Sometimes.
You know.
Just got it.
I think the cast of Roll the Damn Dice would disagree. But...
And the coolest one that I've seen in our home game, we had a player who had to leave for like personal reasons, which is unfortunate because the last game that he played, he revealed that he had this sword that the handle was made out of an immovable rod. So like whenever he would like drive it into something until he would recall it, so his immovable rod was it was like word triggered and it was attuned to him. So he would call it from like wherever he was. And the joke was that like across the empire, there's these like perfectly like sword shaped holes like through mountains and underground because it would like come to him and it was like Thor waiting for his hammer, right? And you could hear it going like chung chung chung. And we were which that was cool enough, but what was born of it is like all the schools of conspiracy thought that went along with it. That like there's one guy named Jeremy who's like, yeah, it's like an enchanted sword that somebody's been calling because like every time he does it, it leaves this trail, right? And then other people are like, no, it's the worm people, you know?
Conspiracies about the sword shapes. I think the coolest magic item that I've had a chance to play with is one that Andrew made for our D&D campaign. And it is called the Soul Zephyr. It is a magical bow that was gifted to the gnomes by an archfey. And it, functions like a normal bow. It does an extra 2d6 force damage. 1d6, sorry. I got corrected. And if you take something to 0 hit points with the shot, you can choose to go to where that arrow is. So if you can like leap over to wherever they are, like no matter how far away.
Shadow of Mordor style, just kind of like teleport.
So cool.
Yeah,
the amount of times I've had it described of like my tiny, like furious gnome barbarian shoots this arrow and then like bamps over and lands on the chest of a giant or something. It's just infinite cool moments. It's so good. And the sort of out of combat feature of it is because it's got all the fey magic and stuff in it. The story of where the bow has been is like inscribed on it, and then the story continues, but it changes depending on what happens. So you can almost it almost predicts the future in vague, tiny doodle kind of ways.
Awesome.
But it's very cool because sometimes like if we do something big in the campaign, I'll be like, oh shit, I'll check what's on the bow because if that has changed, that might mean something else is coming. So it's a very cool little thing. And we found out that it was actually made by a hag. It was the archfey in question. And someone had to sacrifice 3 eyes, I believe, including one of her own.
Yeah.
To get it. So
It wasn't just a hag, it was a hag that my druid had been having regular chats with, just over a convenient gem that we had found.
Oh.
Talking going back to like, in-campaign drama. Like having convenient casual chats with this hag.
Interesting. All right.
Yeah, in our first season, I trolled my players a little bit because there's a character who's kind of like the alchemist, arcanist, kind of local inventor character named Hoki, and he would always make these magical items, and he gets super excited about them, and they were magical, but they were also completely useless.
They're the best. They're the best kind.
So he gave one of the characters a ring of placement. and which they misheard as a ring of displacement, thinking that they could like Displacer Beast style or maybe even teleport. And so there's big long thing about like, okay, how do I use this and everything? And they bring it back to Hoki, and he's like, what's a ring of placement? Okay, you can place it on anything. It'll fit anything. It's just like got gears and it just expands and contracts and goes. And he's like super excited about it. And they're like, so it's not worth anything. He's like, are you kidding me? It's worth everything. And they're like, no.
I love Hoki.
But that's just the whole character. He's just like, I made something cool.
Yeah.
So.
I remember, like, there's the table, I think, in the, like, either the Dungeon Master's Guide or one of the other D&D books of, like, the mundane magic items table.
Yeah.
A favorite of Chasing Tales is the Cloak of Billowing, where you use a bonus action to make the cloak billow dramatically.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Well,
it's the worst
you know what the colloquial name for that is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what that's the Matrix cloak.
Oh my god!
Yeah, that's the Matrix cloak. You can stand there and it just billows.
I thought you were making a cloak pun. Colloquial.
No. People put it in campaigns so that they have like Keanu Reeves vibes. Like,
I mean, understandable. Like,
yeah.
Oh my gosh. I just do that on Halloween. Like, I actually have a cloak. I wear it on Halloween, and when I take my kid trick-or-treating, it just whoosh, right out behind me. It's great. Yeah. It's the coolest thing ever. People move out of your way. It's great.
Second only to a dress that puffs out correctly when you spin.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking
about?
Yeah. A spinny dress.
Yeah.
Satisfying.
Super
I'm a
satisfying.
big fan of
Especially if
the,
you have like extra petticoats. Just
what are the? I've forgotten the thing that you put under old dresses that make the skirts go really big. Hoop skirts.
Oh, the hoop skirts. Yeah.
So you can move and people will get out of your way because otherwise your skirt will deck them.
Yeah.
Or if you want to go Regency, you just have like extra big hip pads that make you a rectangle.
Yeah.
That's a proper way to like social distance.
Right, there you go.
Go full 80s and have massive shoulder pads that are just like sharpened to a point.
Get away.
It's like dush.
Oh my goodness. Let's see. True Staff, I made a homebrew item inspired by it called the hair clip of billowing. Literally the same thing for your hair to billow dramatically instead.
Remember that.
That's fantastic. I like that a lot. That. All right, so
Doug and I could not be using that.
Well, Doug's mustache.
This is true. Your mustache can billow a little bit.
I would like to see that, actually. All right, let's see. Warrior Streak asked, what's the biggest character role challenge you have?
Character role challenge?
Character role, ROLE.
Role challenge.
I think for me, it's when I am playing is I want to create these characters who are kind of more like backliners or support, or because being a DM most of the time I'm doing a lot of the talking and kind of engaging constantly, and so I think like, okay, as a player I'm gonna step back and I'm gonna sit back, I'm gonna be quiet. I just can't. It's just so hard, and it's so hard to like see people making choices. I'm like, but I have an opinion about that. And so it's. As far as like the role that I play, and maybe this isn't what you were meaning with your question, but as far as the role I play in a group, I think it's hard for me to not want to be assertive, and not in a steamrolling way, of course, but just like kind of being a go with the flow type character is really hard with me. Like I want to push and pull the threads and find out things, which I think is kind of one of the points of the game. But there have been a couple games that I've been able to kind of like sit on my heels a little bit more and let other people drive, and it's made for some really cool RP moments because it allows you to be that kind of observant and then come in with a thought or come in with a question type character, and it's just against my nature and against my who I am as a person, and so like it's a stretch for me to do.
Not myself personally, but it's something that I've seen a lot and like experienced quite a bit with it as a DM is that, especially like I've been playing TTRPGs for like 15 years, which that's like turpentine on my tongue to say that I'm that old, but it's nonetheless. Now when you're seeing new players come to the table, they're having a hard time with understanding that their choices have consequences. So like playing a tabletop game is not the same as playing like Dragon Age or like Skyrim. Like you're not just hitting a button and getting loot. Like if your party is under attack and someone with mithril armor falls and you stop the battle to strip the body of the mithril armor, like that shows that you don't care about your party, you care more about yourself. And like people have a hard time with that. And Luna played in a game with me and Doug too, where I had to jerk a couple people by their tail and they're like, oh, you're being mean to my character. And I'm like, your actions have consequences because they made these big ballsy moves.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and did I not say out of character, are you sure?
Yeah. Oh, no,
Yeah.
numerous times.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Before they back themselves into a corner, I'm like, are you sure you want to do that? Yes. Are you positive? Yes. And then they got learned. Like they learned a lesson. And I find that that's something that if you're not aware of it, you might be doing it. That like you're just expecting things like poof magically to happen.
Yeah.
And it's something to bear in mind that if you aren't making your choices from the heart of your character and not from like your player brain, then you're probably not thinking in the right place and you're actually probably not all that fun to play with. So like I hate to say it, but it's true. Like nobody likes sitting at a player with someone who's just like metagaming when nobody else is metagaming. And that I think is the biggest issue I've run into as of late is that people don't understand that like your actions have consequences. Like you seduce the dragon and then what? You know? Like,
Yeah.
Well, and you hit the nail on the head with, metagaming when no one else is metagaming, because there is a case for a game where everybody sits down and goes, okay, we're optimizing everything. We're playing this like a video game.
Everyone's playing, right?
Exactly. And I've done that and it can be super fun. But yes, everybody's on the same page. Aw.
That was very
sorry.
cute.
That was lovely. That doesn't make up for the bullshit that he pulled on you, though, just so he knows that. Sorry. Anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I was just thinking, oh, go ahead.
I think for me, like, and I've called myself out on this before, but I tend to either play characters who have no emotions or too many emotions. I can't do anything in between. Like, they're either incredibly traumatized people who have way too many feelings about everything, or they have perfectly normal adjusted backstories, but they're just very low charisma characters and they don't really talk to anyone. I don't really do it in between. I don't do normal people, apparently. And that is something I need to get better at, because I'm either like very emotionally attached to everyone or very like stoic and not that easy to talk to, which is a problem.
I was just thinking about this isn't really my character issue, but it was something that I saw come up on Twitter today, and it sort of got me thinking. So there was basically somebody tweeted out saying D&D tip. I just happened to pull it up so I could read it and accurately describe it. Agency is the only part of the game that belongs to the players. Don't take it away. DMs determine options, dice determine outcomes, players are determining choices. If you remove choices, you remove the player from the game. And I was like, yup. I think it sort of goes along with, like, you know, what Ray was saying just about, you know, like, you could have players that don't understand that your choices have consequences. You could also have a DM that doesn't give you player choices. And I've played with that DM before, and it is not fun.
No, it's not. And you can... I actually stopped playing for quite some time because I played with that DM, and they made me feel like it was my fault because like I didn't go along. Like the way that I was taught to play TTRPGs is that they put you in a box and you're supposed to find a way out of it. Yeah. And like they had a specific way they wanted you to get out of it, and if you didn't do it that way, it was just like bad. And I absolutely agree with that. Like that's so important. Like if you're DMing, you have to let the characters... Now, like there are times, and I get it, that you have to kind of like put a wall up in order to like point things in a certain direction. But for the most part, like if you're railroading people all the time, that's not fun either. It's also not cool. You're probably lame if you do that.
Well, and here's an example of like the out of the box thinking. It's like I was DMing today for my 7-year-old son and a friend of his. We're doing their very first campaign via Zoom. And so I give them their first skeleton encounter. Okay, there's skeletons to the east. You have to go take care of them. We're going to learn how to do combat and stuff. So what do they sit and do? Well, animals like meat. So if we get a bunch of meat and we put it on the skeletons, then the wolves will come and they'll eat the skeletons.
Incredible.
And I'm sitting there going, how many hours of D&D have I played, and I've never thought... I mean, would that work? Probably not. But, like, maybe it would. Like, I've never thought of anything like that. And it's like, if I as a DM then go, nah, guys, you can't do that. Come on. Like, no, go hit him with your sword. It's like, that completely ruins the point of them using their creativity. And that's children who are kind of, you know, they don't have any preconceived notions. But I think a lot of new players are like that as well, where they have that childlike mind of they're just discovering this for the first time. And if you shoot that down too early, and no, that's not how the world works. It's like, well, okay, then you just keep telling them no when all they wanted to do was to do something cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I really like...
Sorry, you go ahead.
I really like the table that I'm playing at now with the way that Dev does inspiration, that it doesn't give you advantage on a roll. You can use it to make things happen in the world. So he'll give you inspiration for something, and we're doing an adventure where it's like, you know, going through these mountains, and we have these like elven twins that we need to protect, and my character is a yeti who's like very enthralled with like humankind, and his name is Gregory Never Greg, and he is he's a warlock, and his patron, it's a long story, but he's like a genie type warlock, so he has this spell book that he can do magical respite in, which like you can stay in this object for 4 hours. So there, at the end of the last session, it was obvious like something big and bad was coming, and these twins are soft and squishy, and I'm like, I would like to burn an inspiration to use my magical respite to put the twins in my book. And he was like, okay. Like, yeah. So like I love exactly what you're talking about, like taking those thoughts. Like I burned an inspiration in that same game because he put into canon that these twins had like the best, like the cool North Face, like the best of the best like outdoor gear, and it was like douchily enchanted, so like the snow didn't actually settle on them. And I burned an inspiration, and I'm like, can we say the brand is called Argonauts? I'm like, can we say that they have the line of Argonauts that if they fall, Featherfall is activated? And he's like, we sure can. So like I'm not doing anything for my character, and I'm not being like edgy and weird, but I'm putting all these things in place, and I'm like, how do we keep these squishy elven twins from like being an alien dog snack because like that's what's stalking us. But I love that, and I love any DM that will hear out just shenanigans and be like, okay, like tell me how that happens.
Yeah, the level of shenanigans that a DM is willing to put up with and or encourage is really important to me going into a game.
Mm-hmm.
I need a level of shenanigans that if we don't reach that level, I feel like I'm not playing. Like, what is this?
Yeah.
What is this bullshit? There are no shenanigans happening right now. Bring me the shenanigans.
Bring me the shenanigans.
I mean,
On a t-shirt.
we
Yes,
have
that should be a t-shirt.
we have a very chaotic bard and a chaotic curious druid, so we get plenty of shenanigans.
Sometimes there's a lady at the party who's like drenched in transmutation magic, and sometimes you got to dispel that. And oops, the lady's an ancient green dragon. Whoopsie! Like
Oh, no.
it happens.
Sometimes
It's not your
she-
fault.
She destroys a lovely lady's house, and then a bunch of her guests get killed. Oh no.
Sometimes you have a party that has a druid who thinks that they're a wizard and that managed to cast sleep on a door mimic.
Oh no.
I did that playing a very short game with Meg, and it was very entertaining.
was
Everybody was
very
like, and
fun.
the door fell asleep. Cool.
I mean, to be fair, my dumb himbo did then walk into the next room and immediately release the undead that were in the wall, so, you know, we kind of needed it.
Balance.
I have a one-shot I run called the Ultimate Chaos Game, which is a dungeon crawl. And one of the rooms is the polymorph room. And
Hate it.
basically the room itself casts polymorph on the party every minute
Oh my
or whatever
God.
while they try to get out.
Oh.
And
Oh no.
it's the last time I ran it, one of the party members ended up becoming a killer whale and just kind of flopping around until they broke the door down. It was great.
That's amazing. I love that. That's great. Yeah. I was just as far as like going back to character roles and things like that, just like the general conversation. So the character role I generally struggle to play is characters who are mean to people. I don't like being mean to people because the thought of people not liking me makes me want to cry.
Oh, same.
Oh my god.
Same.
So playing a character who is, you know, like, I'm going to betray the party, or I don't care about you guys, or I actively don't like you, just like, it hurts me. And I know it's not real, and I know my players don't hate me because I'm not an idiot. But there's like, a player in character can say one cruel sentence, and it's like, well, guess I'm gonna go cry for 4 hours.
Yeah.
But it reminded me, and kind of the talk of like, you know, it's the same with DMing, and I don't know why, of like, I can play cartoony villains, but as soon as I play a villain that is slightly too mean and slightly too personal, I'm like, well, people hate me now. But there was a thing that came up, I think in actually the LARP that I attend, where people were talking about how to play a character that's a villain, and how to do that, and how to make a fun story out of playing a character that is a villain. And the two things you keep in mind are drive it like you stole it, and be the villain in someone's story. And the idea of like using those as character concepts as a player and as a GM is so fascinating to me. And like, especially the idea of drive it like you stole it, and using that and driving with that, and kind of, as we were talking about, you know, like using those roles effectively and as a GM and as a player, it's something that really fascinates me, but I've never been able to do successfully. Like, be that knife twisty mean character without feeling like crap about myself. It's hard.
I think something to think about when you're looking at, like, all right, so you don't know what your protagonist is capable of until you've put them through hell. And you don't know what your party is capable of till you've put them through hell.
Yep.
And the only way that you're going to put your character or your party through some compelling hell is for it to be personal. And so your good guy is only as good as your bad guy. Your protagonist is only as mighty as the foe that they have to overcome. And like they're only as clever as the villain they have to outsmart. And so in order to make your protagonist look the best they possibly can, your villains have to be fully fleshed out. Like your villains have to be excuse me, real and earnest in flesh and blood, otherwise the stakes are just cartoons. And so like one of the things where I mean I'm a fairly nice guy, I try not to be a jerk, you know, but like if I'm making a bad guy, if my antagonists are going to be just GD antagonists, you know what I mean? Like that it's because otherwise I'm not doing my protagonists any justice, and I'm not showing faith in my players, and I'm not showing faith in their characters if I don't give them something challenging and real.
Yeah. That's really good advice, Doug. Thank you.
It is. I think that for me was one of the hardest things about running Curse of Strahd, because the whole point of Barovia as a setting is that it's incredibly demoralizing.
Yes.
Like, it's not fun. Most of the NPCs aren't nice to you. It's not a pleasant place to be, and that is the whole campaign. The whole point of it is that you feel like you're in this like awful, demoralizing place the whole time, and then when you finally get to the end, the villain fucks with you, like till the last second. Like the most fucking annoying ability that Strahd von Zarovich has is being able to, if you fight him in Castle Ravenloft, he can merge in and out of the walls and the floor as much as he wants to, as a legendary action. And that is so annoying. My players had to fight him 3 times before he finally died. Like, it is so frustrating, and it's so hard because you're watching your players and they're like so like demoralized and frustrated, and you're like, I want you to win, I do, but also this guy is a shit.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And it's funny because like I've run Curse of Strahd, and I unfortunately made the mistake of using it for a group's very first campaign. And they had fun for a while, and then the tone just became too much, and the group ended up falling apart. And like I did start to like add some levity and some side quests and like change things up a little bit, but it is you do have to be careful with, you know, some groups, and it's totally okay. Like some groups are just not here for that. And some totally are. And like, I can't find people to play Vampire the Masquerade with because like no one wants to go there. You know what I mean?
I do.
There we go.
Hello.
It's me. Hello.
How me, Meg, and Luna are all immediately like, me!
Came out of the screen at me.
Yeah,
but it's like
I'm that person on the internet I'm the vampire bitch. It's me.
Hello. I'm pretty sure it literally says like in her chat thing, like not her chat thing, but like her status thing on Discord, like currently says like still searching for vampires or something like that. So
my Twitter bio, the first line is your friendly neighborhood vampire.
Yeah. Like everything that we figured it out in like the non-men of Chasing Tales. If it's like Prue has the fairies, I have the ghosts, Meg has the vampires, and we like converge.
What's that show? What's that show where they all live in the same house?
I know what you're talking about.
Human?
Being Human?
Yeah, Being Human. You are the Being Human of TTRPG shows.
Yeah,
there you go. Fun fact, I went to high school with the guy who played the werewolf in the US version of that show.
Really?
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
He was good.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to bad guys, the thing that, especially if you're doing like face-to-face where people are like, you need to, when you're writing things or you don't have the ability to intonate, sometimes you have to lay it on a little thicker. But like, to me, the best villains are the Moriartys of the world. Like, smart and witty and quick and not afraid to show their face. They show up and have like a pithy conversation, and like don't be afraid to be that kind of bad guy. Like, be like smooth and suave and blend in and out. Like, not everybody has to be Cruella de Vil and Snidely Whiplash. Like, I have had some of the best success with being that kind of bad guy. Like, just smooth as silk. And I don't know. It's
scene in Game of Shadows where Moriarty and Holmes do the thinking fight, right? And they go back and forth. I think one reason that Moriarty works so well as a villain in there is that, yes, he is smart but he's also physically capable, and he pairs those things together. And it's like, you could say it's a little OP, but like, yeah, if you can get a villain who like can talk a good game and then back it up, aka Strahd von Zarovich, it's iconic for a reason.
Yeah, it's frustrating because some of the most fun I ever have as a player in TTRPGs is the moments where like your DM is portraying a villain and you're having a conversation and you are like, they're making you sweat. Like it was in like my DM in my Vampire the Masquerade game showing up as like my character's abusive sire. It was Andrew in our D&D campaign showing up as the Mind Flayer for the first time. It's some of the best moments is like those one-on-one conversations. We had a recent one where he was playing a Dao, like of the plane of Earth, who, if you know anything about Dao, they are awful. They're like assholes. They're lawful. I think they're like lawful evil. They're all about they're slavers. They're the worst kinds of people. And watching him embody that character, like even on the other side of the screen, I was there like shaking. And I want to get that as a DM as well.
So angry.
Yeah, I want to get good at that as a DM. I want to be able to give as well as I take on that front, and that's what I struggle with, and that's what I really want to try and learn as a GM is how to get those moments, how to make the players react like I react to a villain, and without feeling like, oh no, please, don't be angry with me. I'm sorry, I love you really.
I promise. Yeah. That's my problem with running Curse of Strahd, is he's a very charismatic, will turn up and have a chat and then disappear kind of villain. But I'm not very charismatic, so I have to like plan my encounters and my script them, because
you write out your villain speech beforehand.
I have to, because otherwise if I try and improvise it, I'll be like, "Aha! You never saw me coming. Goodbye." And like, I'll
like
fuck it up.
the cat from Sesame Street.
Yeah.
Like
Monty
it'll be
Python
bad.
goes to Barovia.
I want to see someone play through Curse of Strahd where everything is the same except Strahd is the Count from Sesame Street.
Oh my god.
I actually have a working thing with Luna and Wolf's Blood to do My Little Pony Tales of Equestria, but set it in Ravenloft.
Oh!
Play the whole game as My Little Ponies.
Oh my goodness.
Amazing.
That sounds amazing.
I will say, if you end up doing the count thing, you could have the DM actually have the puppet. And bring it up every time.
Oh my god.
I'm just now picturing if you carry on doing it over Zoom of it just being like that. Aha!
Oh gosh. All right. I want to jump in because we had 2 more questions come up and somebody just used an ask my question next. So, Unicorn a la mode, I saw your question come in. We will likely not have time to get to it, but what I will do is I will post it on our Twitter tomorrow, and I will tag everybody in it, and they can answer it on Twitter if they have a minute. So, so we will do that. But Jim the Dim would like to know, what is your IRL god stat?
Ooh. Charisma. Mine's charisma.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, yours is.
I'm charismatic all day long. I'm not always particularly smart, and I am not always particularly wise, but I am very charismatic, and I would be a charisma-based character for sure.
It's a good stat to have just in day-to-day life.
Yeah.
I mean, it gets me into and out of a lot of trouble, so it's not a bad stat for sure.
Mhm.
For sure.
I'm like I reckon I'm also I reckon I also am charisma, but I really think a lot of it has to do with this mustache gives me like +2 to so many things.
It's true. It's true.
Like so many things. I mean, it's got negs too. I mean, let's not, you know, I don't go to the park alone, and like I don't drive cars without windows. But like, I'd say I'm a charisma based person.
So if you guys want a good time, you need to follow Doug on Twitter because like every other day or so, he makes a Dadcore Wizard post and they're hilarious.
They are so
it's
funny.
It's like Dadcore Wizard casts that a boy champ like +2 to like there. It's really sweet. One was like go ask your mother. Like it's good stuff.
The one was casting leftover mancy, and that's when you open up a refrigerator of holding and pull out 2d4 random ingredients and have to make a passable meal.
Yep.
In my house, we call that it's chopped for dinner night.
Doug, you have to tell them what you call it when you make leftovers for food.
Oh man, okay. So like alright, so I had a lot of hamburger helper growing up. That's sort of the kind of house I grew up in. And now I still kind of have a hankering for that sort of food because, you know, it's comfort food or whatever. But what I like to do is I like to take and make like a hamburger helper, but like really like, but not use the box stuff, like use like good meat and like good noodles and like good cheese and like just make like a skillet thing, right? And I call it hamburger hell yeah. And that's
yeah,
I do that about once a week. I make hamburger hell yeah about once a week.
I love
that. Sounds good.
You know, it's good to
Doug
take your lunch and stuff.
Doug and I are friends in real life, so I'll get text messages and it's like hamburger hell yeah, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm here for it.
I'm probably, it sounds douchey saying this, but I'm probably intelligence based. I was good at school.
No, I'd agree with that. You're a smart dude, man.
I was good at school, and I'm analytical, and I like kind of breaking down problems from like a puzzle standpoint with like my games and everything. And yeah, I wouldn't say it's God stat, but that's kind of how I get by with things.
Mm-hmm. I think mine would probably be wisdom. Cause like I'm not trying to say that I've had a very long life so far. I've not, but I've done a decent amount, and like I know I've done a lot of weird things. Of like I've done like survival skills courses. I'm a trained lifeguard. I know a lot about, you know, kind of the natural world because my mother's partner is like a tree surgeon and a wood carver. So I've picked up lots of little tidbits that kind of add together to more in like worldly wisdom than intelligence. However, before I started uni and before the pandemic, it would have been dexterity, because I was a professional circus performer.
Hey.
No way!
Wow.
Yeah. Before the pandemic and before I started university, back when I was kind of, I started doing circus when I was about 10 or 11. And then when I was 16, started teaching and performing. When I was 18, became a qualified teacher and then had to stop when I went to university. But yeah, I was an aerial circus performer and I would do like trapeze and silks and stuff. So dexterity was my god stat because I was training 4 times a week and teaching kids. And it was like a massive joy in my life. And then I started, and then there's a lot of jokes that some of the kids I used to teach make, whereas I was running away from the circus to go to university. And they kept making jokes about it. And I miss it every day that I don't have the time and space and money to do that anymore. So now I've gone, I think, from like a monk to a druid in the last few years. As I've gone from
druids.
That.
We love
we
druids.
We do though. We do.
Druids are my favorite class.
They are. They're my favorite.
I love them. I think I'm kind of similar in that, like, I think my god stat probably used to be strength, because I was an athlete from the age of 10 until I was about 18. And I used to do middle distance, which is arguably the hardest. And I was training like 6-7 days a week for about 8 years. So I used to be very strong. But then I waltzed into the corporate world, and now I hate myself. But
Ain't that
I
just the way?
But I think, like IRL, it would probably be wisdom also, but for slightly different reasons. Because, like I said, I actually didn't go to uni, so I immediately went into work as soon as I left school. So I have a lot of comparable to a lot of people my age. I have a lot more like working experience as an adult, but I also, as opposed to being an intelligence type person where I can keep a lot of information in my brain and I'm, good at, keeping that and being able to pull it out whenever I want. I'm more of an analytical person, so like if you let me study information and you give it to me for long enough, I'll give you something good at the end of it. As long as you don't try and make me remember it. Like, I'll read a book and sit down and write you a real nice essay, but if you ask me to talk about it 3 weeks later, you're getting nothing. Absolutely nothing.
That sounds a lot like me, Meg. I am very much the same way.
Yeah, like, as when I'm doing something, it's in, but once I've done it, it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
No more. Which is fine for when for my vocation, which is largely events and hospitality, because that means like the event is now, and when the event is done, it doesn't matter anymore.
There you go.
It works.
Yeah. If I have the time, just because I'm curious, can I ask everyone quickly what their dump stat would be?
Go for
to
it.
counter that, because
Wow.
mine is absolutely Constitution, because I am sick all the time. I don't drink. I don't drink alcohol. I don't drink coffee. I don't smoke. I get headaches all the time, and I'm constantly cold. Like, I have like at max a 6 Constitution. Like, I'm a frail little being.
Oh.
Mine's either Dex or Con. Yeah, but the men in my family are not built to be fast or limber. we are stocky. But I'm also sick a lot too, which is, it's honestly been bizarre, like being with the pandemic and like staying inside. Like I didn't get the flu this year for the first time in
It's crazy.
Who knows how long. Yeah. So
I've not had a cold in so long.
Yep.
It's weird.
Yep.
I think
Nobody wants to go
I think
next.
Dex would be my dump stat because I am ridiculously accident prone. Like I joke about it, but true story, I tore my ACL, sprained my MCL, and got a bone bruise by standing up on a plane once. Like, the plane was stopped. It was at the gate. I had just arrived. I was standing up to what's the word? Deplane.
Deplane.
Disembark.
And
Deplane.
Yeah, I was going to say
Unplane.
disembark, and then I'm like, that would be more for a boat, I think.
That
But either
would
way.
that would be the difference between UK English and American English.
Yeah.
It was.
I was going to say deboard, but then I'm like, is that even a word?
No, ma'am.
Right. So, yeah, Bat Deck said in chat, Luna is just broken. Please fix. True story. I was on a business trip to Chicago. I live slightly north of Boston, and I got on the plane. Everything was fine. I arrive in Chicago. I stand up, and boom, like my leg goes out from underneath me. I literally just stood up. The woman across the aisle was like, "Are you okay?" And I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, I think I just need to wait until everybody else gets off the plane first. Thanks.
Oh no.
I was okay, but I did end up having knee surgery that following January. So.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was bad.
When I pulled my MCL, I mean, it was during a basketball game, but it wasn't doing anything athletic. I literally, the tip-off happened, and I turned to run up the court, and I pulled my MCL.
Yeah.
And I was like, What?
These are
It
dumb.
always it happens
These
at
are
like it happens at the times if you do things like it happens at the times you don't expect it. Again, when I was doing aerial and doing circus, which is massively physical, like physically exerting, the worst injury I ever had was when I tore my hamstring falling down the stairs at sixth form at college. I just slipped down the stairs.
Oh.
And tore it and couldn't walk properly for 6 months, and it was like the worst injury I'd ever had.
Yeah,
So
this
I'm the opposite of you guys, because previous to where I live now and what I do now, I ran a dressage facility for 3 years. I've worked with my foot broken. I've broken ribs. I've been thrown from so many horses. I've had my feet stepped on. I've been bit all over the place. I'm a competitive power lifter, so I'm really strong. And I'm wise, but I'm not always smart. So intelligence would be my dump stat, because like I am the most kind and empathetic person you'll ever want to meet, but there are times where people will say something to me and I'm just like my partner is a very smart person and he says stuff to me and I'm like, you need to break that down Barney style. Like, I need simpler instructions.
ELI 5, man.
I feel that Andrew is an engineer, and I don't understand a lot of the things that come out of his mouth. I'm gonna be honest with you. But I think my dump stat for sure is dexterity. I am constantly covered in bruises. I walk into walls that I know exist. And yet,
better than ones you don't know exist.
Yeah, right. That would be worse.
We'll say that. But yeah, like that happens a lot. I had a similar thing where like I've broken plenty of bones just from like falling over. But I was working a Christmas shift at like a big department store in the UK called Next. And I was working in the stock rooms, so it was all like, folding clothes, stocking shelves, stocking racks, blah blah blah. I hadn't had an injury for a hot minute because again I had like just come out from like being an athlete for 8 years. I worked in a stock room for 3 weeks and got tendonitis.
Oh.
Yeah.
And couldn't walk for like 6 weeks. Yeah, so that was fun. And yeah, I've broken at least 3 fingers, 2 toes, an elbow, a wrist, and I also have old lady joints. So
I'm with you on the old lady joints.
I'm undiagnosed, but I'm pretty sure I have scoliosis. And yeah, like all of my joints are out of place, constantly aching. I'm just 90 years old.
Oh, Ben,
secretly,
it's that moment where you crouch down and you bend your knees, and then suddenly there's like the dance fight from West Side Story starts happening because they're clicking so much.
Oh, the glow stick effect, where you get up in the morning and it's like cracking a face full of glow sticks. Yeah.
All right.
No,
well,
but mine is
ahead.
I can't stand up at a concert for 3 hours because my back hurts so bad. I have to sit on the floor and hope people don't step on me.
Yeah, that's not good. All right. Well, we are fresh out of time. We are actually over by a little bit, but that's okay because this was fun. So Ray, we got to draw another winner.
We do.
So exclamation point ticket, last call for winning.
Hurry.
The very cool little, what'd you call it? Adorable little nightmare?
Oh, he's a sweet little nightmare.
Sweet little nightmare. So go ahead and get your entries in. There's a lot of, the odds are very good, right? The odds are in your favor, people.
May the odds be ever in your favor.
That was a creepily good impression.
Thank you. I have a couple I can do very well, and that's one of them.
All right, I'm going to close the giveaway. And drum roll, please. Vertrox Nightblood.
Hey.
So... Sorry, Yachts. I closed it already. Vertrox, are you there? There! Hey, there we go. All right, cool. So if you would like to get in touch, message one of our mods and we will get the exchange of
Tolliver's
information.
Here. Hi, Tolliver.
Hi, Tolliver. And we will get that all set up. So what I'm going to do at this point is I am going to ask everybody just again to go around and remind us of who you are and where we can find you online. Ray, we're going to start with you.
I'm RaeMayhem. You can find me pretty much everywhere on as RaeMayhem. I'm on Twitter and I'm in all of Luna's channels. Say hey. That's about all I have to say.
All right. Well, thanks for coming to hang out with me again.
Literally anytime. Girl, I got you.
I know. Meg.
Hello, I am Meg. You can find me pretty much everywhere as My Lady Meg in some iteration. Sometimes there's a cosplay on the end. I am a cosplayer, I'm a TTRPGer, I play a lot of games over on Chasing Tales. And yeah, at the moment I'm doing a makeup body painting series based on the Deck of Many Things from D&D. And based on a deck by the wonderful Ramona, who goes by Older Doodle. She makes these like beautiful, like gold, shiny, foily, lovely things. And I'm putting these on my face. So if you want to see me do that, come hang out, I guess.
It's actually super fun. I've watched her do it before. All right. And next we'll head over to Doug.
So I'm Doug. You can find me on Twitter at DougGBQ, or you can go to our main podcast handle, which is GBQ Pod. Y'all should come hang out. We also have a Discord channel that we have some shenanigans in sometimes. So y'all should hang out. But yeah, find us on Twitter and come listen to the show because it's pretty good.
All right. Doug, thank you for coming back too.
Yeah.
All right. And let's see, Andrew, we'll head over to you.
All right. Well, I'm Andrew from The First Watch, an actual play cinematic web series and podcast. You can find us on Twitter, The First Watch, or actually First Watch Show on Twitter, and then YouTube, The First Watch. And our second episode of season 2 is Tuesday at 8 p.m. On YouTube, so would love to see some folks there. And there's a recap of season 1 on the channel as well, so you can get all caught up.
There you go. All right, and Rowan, we'll finish off with you.
Yeah, I'm Rowan. You can find me on Twitter at RowanMay_. And then you can also find me with Chasing Tales along with Meg. We are Chasing Tales RPG on Twitter and Twitch and Instagram, everywhere. We've also got a link to our public Discord. Come hang out, it's a good time. And you can also find me with Witch and Craft games. They are on Twitter at WitchN, like the letter N, WitchNCraft, and on Twitch at Witch and Craft Games. We are doing a lot of fun stuff at the moment. The game that we just put out, 12 Inner Demons, has come out and is getting shipped now. That's very exciting. We've got other things in the works, as well as streams and things. So yes, Chasing Tales RPG, Witch and Craft Games. Come find me.
All right. Well, thank you guys all so much for coming to hang out with me tonight. This has been a lot of fun, great conversation. And I hope you all had as good a time as I did. So this is Tales from the Tavern. Yeah, thank you guys. This is Tales from the Tavern. We're here every Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time. I don't even know what time that is in Hawaii anymore. Bat Duck, you're on your own. And you can also find our stream on Tuesday nights, which is Ripples in the Gray. That's our Star Wars Fantasy Flight Games system that just started a couple weeks ago. And so you can check us out there, also at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And then on Wednesday nights, we have 50 Shades of Crimson, which is our Pathfinder First Edition campaign. And you can find us there again at 8 p.m. Eastern. So thank you all for coming to hang out with us. We are going to go raid a friend of the channel, Tog DM, Totally Online Gaming Group. So let me start that off. And let's see, raid. I can words. There we go. And I hope you guys all have a wonderful evening. Thanks so much for joining in. And if this is your first time here, we hope we see you again. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.